After my fiance, Ethan, proposed to me on our trip to the Maldives, I casually posted an engagement photo online. I didn't expect that a new colleague, Chloe Vance, would immediately comment on it in the company's group chat for everyone to see. Isn't this the photo of my fiance proposing to me? Why are you stealing my picture? I was completely stunned. Since when was my fiance hers? Before I even had a chance to reply, Chloe posted a photo in the group. It was a picture of a hand with a ring on it, and not only was the ring identical to mine, but the small mole on the man's ring finger was in the exact same spot. Ava, she wrote, you might be able to steal a picture, but you can't steal my life. You should really mind your own business. I calmly added Ethan to the group chat. Honey, I typed, who is this person trying to break us up? I stared at Chloe's photo of the diamond ring, and a strange feeling came over me. Ethan had explicitly told me that he had this ring custom designed to celebrate our 7-year long-distance relationship. How could Chloe have a photo with such identical details, right down to the fingers? It made me wonder if we somehow shared the same fiance. I decided to look at Chloe's social media. All the photos of the man she was with were either of his back or his side profile. She never showed his face. Chloe, I typed back in the group, since you're so sure he's your fiancé, why don't you post a clear, front-facing photo of the two of you for everyone to see? She responded almost instantly. My fiancé is a very private and important person. Do you really think he'd let just anyone take his picture? She retorted. Besides, what proof do you have that he isn't my fiancé? I was about to go through my photo album to find a picture of Ethan and me when a message from my coworker, Sarah, made me pause. Chloe mentioned that her fiancé's last name is Hayes, Sarah wrote. He's supposed to be mysterious and incredibly wealthy. Could he be the same Hayes who made the billionaires list before he was 30? Before Sarah could finish her thought, Chloe jumped in. What, Ava? Are you going to claim your fiancé's last name is Hayes too? I didn't respond. Stop trying to be mysterious, another coworker, Laura from finance, chimed in, clearly trying to get on Chloe's good side. Everyone knows Mr. Hayes is an exceptional man. It's no wonder someone would want to pretend to be his fiancé. The group chat was buzzing with discussion when Chloe posted again. Since Ava wants to see a photo so badly, I'll post one to prove I'm not lying. I stared at my phone, waiting. A moment later, a photo appeared. It showed a man in a well-fitted suit from behind, with his arm around Chloe's shoulders. You couldn't see his face, but his build and the general outline of his figure looked unmistakably like Ethan. This was taken at the proposal in the Maldives, Chloe wrote. My fiancé hates having his picture taken, so it was hard for me to even get this one. The chat immediately filled with messages of awe. That build has to be Mr. Hayes. Chloe wasn't lying. And no wonder she's always driving that limited edition sports car to work. I put my phone down and walked out onto the balcony, taking a deep breath. It felt impossible. Ethan had just proposed to me. How could he have possibly given someone else an engagement ring? But that silhouette. I opened my phone and looked at my own photos from our beach proposal, the beautifully arranged scene, the moment he knelt on one knee, his slender fingers. Why did Chloe have a picture that looked so similar? Miss Miller, do you have anything else to say now that you've seen the photos? Chloe's message popped up, her tone dripping with smug victory. When I didn't reply right away, she sent a smiling emoji. I know you might be confused, Ava, but this is a serious matter. If my fiancé hears about this, I'm afraid you might lose your job. The mocking comments in the group chat were multiplying, and my fingers trembled with anger. Then, an idea came to me. I sent a message to the group. Miss Vance, since you claim to be Mrs. Hayes-to-be, why don't we settle this? Let's each invite our own Mr. Hayes and have a wedding, a double wedding, one of a kind. The group fell silent for a few seconds before exploding with messages. Chloe quickly replied, What are you even talking about? We're already engaged, aren't we? I remained calm. You seem awfully confident, I typed. Her sarcastic reply came fast. Of course I am. I continued, Then what are you afraid of? Who said I was afraid? She shot back. But are you sure you want to humiliate yourself like this? As long as you're brave enough to go through with it, then it's settled, I wrote. You pick the time and place. After sending the message, I muted my phone and tossed it onto my bed, ignoring the flood of notifications that followed. The next morning at work, the atmosphere was strange. When I went to the break room, I could hear my colleagues whispering. This is going to be a disaster for Ava. She's really asking for trouble. Chloe is obviously the real fiancé of Mr. Hayes. Ava is just setting herself up for public humiliation. As I was getting some water, Sarah came over. Ava, are you out of your mind? Why would you provoke Chloe like that? What do you possibly have to gain? I just smiled. What's the problem? Sarah hesitated, then sighed. Fine, forget it. You can deal with this yourself. I went back to my desk. The last message on my phone was from Ethan, apologizing for whatever he'd done wrong. After the whole fiasco last night, I had taken my anger out on him, and the poor, confused man had ended up apologizing and moving his things to the living room to sleep on the couch. Around noon, Chloe showed up at my desk with a small group of coworkers behind her. The wedding is tomorrow, at the Kempinski Hotel, she announced, smoothing down her elegant skirt. I raised an eyebrow. That soon? I asked. What's the matter? Haven't found an actor to play your fiancé yet? She sneered. I kept typing on my keyboard without looking up. That time works for me. Chloe stood up and leaned over my desk, her hands on the surface and her eyes sharp. Tomorrow, then. We'll finally see who the real Mrs. Hayes is. I finally looked up from my screen, meeting her triumphant gaze. All right, then, I said. I'll be sure to watch closely. The preparations at the Kempinski Hotel were in full swing. I stood by a massive floor-to-ceiling window, watching the staff hurry back and forth, decorating two separate banquet halls. Hall A was grand and opulent, a showcase of pure luxury. Hall B was simpler and more elegant, with an understated and tasteful design. Chloe, of course, had chosen Hall A, while I had picked Hall B. Ava, look at Chloe's setup, Mrs. Davis from accounting said, holding a cup of coffee and giving me a knowing look. She spent over $1 million just on the flower arrangements. Don't tell me you couldn't even afford a wedding planner. Before I could answer, Chloe walked over with her entourage. These roses were all flown in from the Netherlands. They cost over $2,000 each, she said, turning gracefully to the wedding planning team behind her. Yes, Miss Vance, the wedding director nodded repeatedly. It's truly a display worthy of Mr. Hayes's fiancée. So grand, it's incredible. Chloe smiled playfully and walked toward me in her high heels. Ava, you're really going all out, aren't you? This isn't going to end well for you. I turned to look at her. You don't need to worry about my wedding. Haha, I'm just worried it's going to be so shabby that everyone will laugh themselves sick, she sneered, rolling her eyes. Just as her followers joined in mocking me, a man in a custom-tailored suit walked into the hotel lobby. Excuse me, he said, is Mrs. Hayes here? He was holding a signature red box with the Cartier logo on it. Chloe's eyes lit up and she hurried forward. That's me. This is the wedding ring Mr. Hayes asked me to deliver, the man said, respectfully handing her the box. Chloe took it and everyone immediately crowded around her. Oh my God, that's the latest Cartier wedding ring set. I heard there are only 50 pairs in the entire world. It must have cost 7 figures. Chloe elegantly opened the box, revealing a pair of sparkling diamond rings. Mrs. Davis looked on with envy. Chloe, your fiancé spoils you so much. Chloe slipped one of the rings on her finger and held her hand up to the light. It's not quite as special as the ring he proposed to me with, but I suppose it's presentable enough. I leaned against the window, just watching her perform. Chloe glared at me, then walked over. Ava, you probably don't even have a ring, do you? How about I have someone send you a fake one later? At least it won't be too embarrassing during the ceremony. Miss Vance, I asked calmly, are you sure that ring is for you? She raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? You don't think it's for you, do you? Don't make me laugh. My fiancé knows I like this style, so he had it specially prepared for me. I checked the time. It was almost noon. Just then, another person entered the hotel lobby. This time, it was the hotel manager. I'm so sorry, he said apologetically. It seems that ring was delivered to the wrong person. Chloe looked stunned. What are you talking about? The manager continued. Mr. Hayes instructed that the family rings should be delivered to Hall B. The entire room erupted in whispers. Impossible! This ring is mine, Chloe said frantically. She immediately pulled out her phone and dialed a number. Honey, you need to come to the hotel right now. Someone is trying to steal my ring, she said, her voice filled with tears. It's that woman who was pretending to be your fiancé. She's saying the ring is hers. After hanging up, Chloe looked at me with a defiant stare. Just you wait. My fiancé will be here any minute. Mrs. Davis rushed to her side to comfort her. Chloe, don't be upset. People like her are just jealous of you. Chloe pretended to be aggrieved, wiping away fake tears. I'm just too nice. I didn't want to make a scene because we're colleagues, but she just keeps provoking me. Don't worry, Chloe, said Amy from administration. Look at all the luxury cars you drive. You can't be a fake. Yeah, added an assistant from HR. Unlike some people whose entire monthly salary wouldn't even be enough to buy a nice handbag. In the lobby, everyone was looking at me with strange, judgmental eyes. I just stayed by the window, watching the busy traffic outside. You seem very anxious, I said to Chloe. She retorted immediately, What do I have to be anxious about? You're the one who's going to be sued for trying to steal my ring. Time ticked by second, and the hotel lobby grew more crowded. Soon, a black Maybach slowly pulled up to the hotel entrance. Everyone's attention turned to the car. Chloe shouted loudly, I knew he would come to support me. The Maybach stopped, and Chloe excitedly ran out to hug the man who had just stepped out of the driver's side. Honey, you're finally here. The man froze on the spot, his face turning pale. Well, honey, it's her. Chloe turned and pointed at me. She's the one who tried to steal my ring, and she's been telling everyone that she's engaged to you. The man looked completely flustered when he saw me, and sweat started to bead on his forehead. I stood still, watching the whole ridiculous scene unfold, and I couldn't help but laugh out loud. What are you laughing at? Chloe glared. Are you scared now that my fiancé is here? The man finally couldn't take it anymore. You've mistaken me for someone else, he stammered. I am. Honey, don't be afraid, Chloe interrupted him. I know you're working on a big project and don't want any trouble, but if you don't teach this woman a lesson, she'll think she can walk all over you. Just then, the back door of the Maybach slowly opened. The driver, a man named Leo, looked relieved. Mr. Hayes is the CEO. Chloe froze, her grip on Leo's arm subconsciously loosening. A deep male voice came from inside the car. Leo, what is going on here? Leo wiped the cold sweat from his brow. Sir, I can explain. The man in the car chuckled softly. Oh, explain what? Why you've been pretending to be me? The sound of expensive leather shoes on the pavement grew closer. Chloe still seemed to be in shock. I watched her expression change and figured she had probably put the pieces together. Her fiancé wasn't the CEO. He was just Ethan Hayes' driver. The crowd was stunned as a tall, impeccably dressed man stepped out of the car. He radiated an aura of power and authority. He stood by the car door, his gaze sweeping over the crowd before finally landing on me. My love, he said, have you been waiting long? The entire scene fell into a dead silence. Chloe looked as if she had been struck by lightning, stumbling back a few steps. The faces of Mrs. Davis, Sarah, and the others turned a ghastly shade of white. I finally pushed myself away from the window I had been leaning against all afternoon. The show had been brilliant, after all. Ethan, I said with a smile. Ethan's gaze flickered toward Leo, who immediately started babbling. Mr. Hayes, sir, I'm so sorry. I know I was wrong. Chloe was still stunned. Honey? What does he mean? I'm not the CEO, Leo stammered. I'm just Mr. Hayes' driver. The crowd gasped. Oh my God! So Chloe's fiancé is a fake? Does that mean all those luxury cars and expensive things were fake too? Ethan watched it all with a cold, hard gaze. Leo, he said, his voice like ice, do you understand the consequences of impersonating me? Leo was trembling. Sir, I really do know I was wrong. Not only did you impersonate me, Ethan continued, his voice laced with anger, but you also tried to take over my wedding venue. You have some nerve. No, it wasn't like that. Leo looked over at Chloe desperately. She said she wanted to have a huge, lavish wedding. I didn't know what else to do. Chloe finally slumped to the ground, trembling as she questioned him. So those cars, the designer bags, the fancy restaurants, they were all rented? I spent my whole salary renting those things, Leo whispered. Mrs. Davis and the others just looked at each other, completely astonished. Mr. Hayes, please, I'm begging you, let me go this one time. I swear I know I was wrong. Leo suddenly crawled toward us. I'll do anything. I'm willing to compensate you. Ethan stared down at him. Do you really think money can solve this? No, I don't dare. Leo kowtowed, his head hitting the floor. I know impersonating you is a serious crime, but I really do love Miss Vance. Shut up, Chloe screamed. You liar! You've ruined everything for me. I made so many enemies for you, I turned down so many other men, and now you're telling me you're just a driver? I'm sorry, but I really do care about you, Leo said, turning to her. Enough! I don't want to hear it. Chloe covered her ears. Miss Miller, please help me plead with him. Leo turned back to me. I shouldn't have pretended to be the CEO, and I shouldn't have helped Miss Vance bully you. I leaned against Ethan, watching the drama. If you two truly loved each other, I might have felt some sympathy for you, I said softly. But what about you two? I looked at Chloe. One of you is desperate to climb the social ladder, and the other is chasing a life of vanity. Are these your true feelings? Chloe was a mess on the ground, her makeup smeared. I really thought I had found my soulmate. Mr. Hayes, Mrs. Hayes, I'm willing to accept any punishment. Leo was still begging. Ethan didn't even glance at him. The legal department will handle this. Security guards came and took Chloe and Leo away. My colleagues rushed over to apologize to me. Ava, we're so sorry. We were all fooled by Chloe. I looked at their panicked faces and calmly said, the wedding is canceled. Mrs. Davis grew anxious. Ava, we really know we were wrong. It's not because I'm angry, I said. It's just that none of you meet the standards for this wedding. Ethan put his arm around my shoulders. What my wife says goes. I nodded and got into the car with him. A week later, the Hayes Corporation officially announced it was suing a man and a woman for impersonating a senior executive, citing fraud and defamation. The news sent ripples through the business community. Did you hear? The driver who pretended to be the CEO was sentenced to 3 years in prison. The woman got it even worse. Not only was she fired, but she also has to pay the corporation $5 million for defamation. Serves them right. Who told them to go around using the Hayes name to show off? I was at my desk cleaning out my drawers when Sarah cautiously approached. Ava, about Chloe, she whispered. I heard she had to sell her house and borrow money from all her relatives just to pay that $5 million fine. I kept tidying up my desk without a word. After her mother found out, Mrs. Davis added, she got so angry she ended up in the hospital. Now Chloe spends her days running back and forth between the hospital and trying to find work. She's gotten so thin. What about Leo? Laura asked. His family used up all their savings, and I heard they even had to borrow money from loan sharks just to help pay the compensation. Sarah sighed. I finally paused. Do you all think we were too harsh? No. They did something wrong and they deserve to be punished, they all said, quickly waving their hands. I smiled faintly. If all they did was pretend, that would be one thing. But they used that fake identity to create drama in the company, to show off, and even to try and use it to bully me. I looked at them. If you don't teach people like that a lesson, they'll never understand the gravity of what they did wrong. The group fell silent and went back to their own desks. As I sat down, I received a long text message. It was from Chloe. I really know I was wrong now, it read. I thought I had found a golden opportunity, but I never imagined it would end like this. My mother is in the hospital. I have to pay all this money, and I've lost my job. Can you please help me? I looked at the message and remembered how she used to flaunt her fake life, how she used a false identity to put others down, and how she basked in a glory that wasn't hers. Chloe, your mistake wasn't wanting to marry into a wealthy family, I replied. Your mistake was being willing to do anything to get there, including trampling over other people without a shred of decency. The punishment you're facing now is just the consequence of your own actions. The next day, the general manager called a company-wide meeting. In light of recent events, the company has decided to implement a comprehensive rectification, he announced, his expression serious. Everyone tensed up. First, for all employees who undermined colleagues and spread rumors during the Chloe Vance incident, appropriate disciplinary action will be taken. Mrs. Davis, Sarah, and Laura all looked pale. Second, Mr. Hayes believes this incident has exposed serious flaws in our company's internal culture. Flatterers, sycophants, and those who ostracize their colleagues will be the primary targets of this new disciplinary focus. The conference room was deathly quiet. Finally, Mr. Hayes has decided to conduct a major overhaul of the company. Any employees who are found to be unqualified or have moral and ethical issues will be dismissed immediately. After the meeting, a cloud of gloom hung over the office. It's over, Mrs. Davis slumped in her chair. Why did I go along with her? If I had known Ava was the real fiancée of Mr. Hayes, I would have never said a word against her, Sarah said, full of regret. Laura was even more anxious, pacing back and forth. We even said to her face that she wasn't worthy of a wealthy family. Now, everything is ruined. I'm probably going to lose my job. Just then, an email from HR arrived with the first list of layoffs. The names of Mrs. Davis, Sarah, and Laura were on it. Ava, please, I'm begging you, help us, Mrs. Davis cried, rushing over to my desk. Yes, we really know we were wrong, Sarah pleaded. I was packing up some personal items and didn't look up. Weren't you all convinced that I didn't deserve to marry Ethan? Now you're asking me for help? Aren't you afraid of losing face? We really are sorry. If we had known who you were, we never would have dared, Laura said, wiping away tears. I interrupted her. So your mistake was that you didn't know my real identity? If I were just an ordinary employee, would it have been okay for you to treat me that way? They all fell silent. Mrs. Davis still wanted to say something, but I cut her off. Enough. Ethan is right. This company desperately needs a major overhaul. People like you are not suitable to continue working here. That evening, Ethan came to pick me up from work. I heard things at the office were quite lively today, he said as I got in the car. I leaned my head on his shoulder. Everyone is full of regret. He sneered. They regret not knowing your identity and offending you. If they had known you were my fiancé from the start, they would have been fawning over you just like they did with Chloe. I smiled. That's exactly why this blood transfusion was necessary. That kind of culture of flattery and sycophancy had to change. Ethan hugged me. Don't worry, from now on, no one will dare to bully you again. I shook my head. It's not about me. It's about the company. It needs people who are capable and have integrity, not people who only see what's in it for themselves. Ethan kissed my forehead. And that's why I love you. You always know what's most important. As night fell, Ethan drove me to the seaside. I was a little confused. What are we doing here so late? Do you remember this place? He asked. The place where we first met. I was stunned for a moment. I looked at the beachfront restaurant in front of us, and memories came flooding back. 3 years ago, right here was where we had our first date. Back then, I was just a newly hired junior designer. You told me back then that you hated people who were vain and materialistic more than anything, Ethan said, holding my hand as we walked along the beach. I smiled. At that time, Ethan had been hiding his true identity from everyone, pretending to be just another ordinary office worker. It wasn't until he was completely sure that I genuinely liked him for who he was, not for his status or his wealth, that he finally told me the truth. Thinking about it now, I couldn't help but wonder if Chloe would regret her choices if she knew the truth about how we met. If she hadn't been so desperate to attach herself to power and money, Maybe she could have found someone who truly loved her. What are you thinking about? Ethan asked, stopping our walk. What if I were just like Chloe? I asked, leaning on his shoulder. Would you? No, he interrupted me firmly, because you are you. You would never change yourself for something as shallow as vanity. The sea breeze blew gently past us, carrying the salty scent of the ocean. Suddenly, Ethan knelt down on one knee. I froze. Ethan, you? The last proposal was too rushed, he said. This time, I want to do it properly. He took out a small blue velvet box. When he opened it, a breathtaking diamond ring sparkled inside. This ring is the only one of its kind in the world, he said, his voice full of emotion. Just like your place in my heart. Unique. I looked at the ring, my eyes welling up with tears. Not because of how expensive it was, but because he had remembered me once saying how much I disliked having things that were exactly the same as everyone else's. Ava Miller, will you marry me? He asked, his gaze deep and full of affection. No secrets this time. No being low-key. I want the whole world to know that you are my wife. I nodded, the tears finally falling. I do. He stood up and slid the ring onto my finger. In that moment, with the gentle sea breeze and the soft moonlight, everything felt perfect. No one will ever question your identity again, he said, holding me close. I shook my head. I never cared about that. What I care about is knowing that no matter what happens, you will always be there, quietly protecting me. He kissed my tears away. It's my honor. On the way back, I leaned on his shoulder. Mrs. Hayes, he said softly, have you gotten used to your new title? I smiled. Compared to that, I prefer it when you just call me by my name. He smiled back. You're right. The title isn't important. What's important is that we're together. Outside the car window, the city lights twinkled. This time, I knew no one would come to challenge my identity again. No one would question my place by his side. Because true feelings don't need any proof. Good morning, Director Miller. Good morning. I smiled back at my colleagues as I walked into the office. The once chaotic office was now much calmer. The people who used to gather in corners to whisper and point fingers were gone. I glanced down at the ring on my finger, a smile unconsciously touching my lips. Director Miller, your ring is so beautiful, the new intern Jane said as she passed by my desk. Thank you, I replied softly. This ring is beautiful, but its real value isn't in the size of the diamond. It's in the meaning it represents. It was Ethan's promise to me, a unique promise. While cleaning out my desk, I found an old invitation at the very bottom of a drawer. Director Miller, what's this? My assistant Lily asked curiously. I forced a smile. Just an old invitation. It's not useful anymore. It was the invitation to that farcical double wedding. Looking back on it now, it was truly ironic. Do you need me to throw it away for you? Lily asked. No, it's okay. I'll do it myself. I gently tore the invitation into pieces and threw it in the trash. It was time to start planning a real wedding. In the break room, a few colleagues were discussing the news. Did you hear? Mr. Hayes is finally throwing a proper wedding for his wife. This time it's the real deal. I heard it's going to be an unprecedentedly grand event. It's already the talk of the town. I held my coffee cup, listening quietly, my heart unusually calm. A colleague saw me and asked a little awkwardly, Director Miller, can we attend the wedding? I smiled. Of course. The atmosphere in the office was completely different now. There was no more deliberate flattery or hidden sarcasm, just a genuine and professional work environment. This, I thought, is what a workplace should be like. At noon, I officially announced the wedding in a conference room meeting. For this wedding, I hope to invite everyone who sincerely wishes us well, I said, looking around at my colleagues. Director Miller will definitely be there, they said in unison. After work, I received countless messages of congratulations from them. There were no over-the-top compliments or fake flattery, just simple, heartfelt wishes. It reminded me of the lead up to the last wedding. All those false compliments and snobbish faces. Director Miller, what are you thinking about? Lily asked, bringing me back to the present. Oh, nothing. I was just thinking that this is really nice. Walking out of the company building, Ethan's car was already waiting. How was your day? He asked. I leaned on his shoulder and whispered, it was very good. Better than it's ever been. Why is that? Because I don't have to pretend to be someone else anymore, I said. I can finally just be myself without having to hide or worry about what others are thinking. The feeling is truly wonderful. What are your thoughts on the wedding? He asked. I thought for a moment. It doesn't have to be extravagant, but it must be sincere. I want everyone to know that true love doesn't need luxury to be proven, and real happiness isn't built on vanity. On the way home, I looked out at the city lights. The storms of the past had passed, and all the false noise had faded away. What remained was the most genuine happiness, a happiness that didn't need to be proven to anyone or disguised with a title. Because I knew, without a doubt, that the person standing beside me loved the real me. And that was my greatest happiness. The wedding was still to come, but our story was just beginning. This time, no one would challenge my position, because true love is never afraid of any challenge. And those who try to build their lives on lies and falsehoods will eventually learn that real happiness only belongs to those who dare to be themselves.